That's the best thing in the world. Turn it off and turn it back on. Works for everything.
Diane, to the office, please.
I didn't do it.
Thank you, and good evening. Welcome to the Conservation Commission meeting of Monday, March 6, 2023. The meeting is being held in person and via Zoom at the Gala Meeting Room, Town Hall. For information for the Zoom, you can go to Foxborough Gov Department Conservation and click Public Remote Participation. This meeting will be also broadcast live on Foxboro Cable Access TV channel 22/38. And again, welcome. All right. Yep.
Chairman, I'd like to make a motion. I move that the commission convene an executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21, subsection A3, for the purpose of discussing litigation strategy with respect to wetlands, violations, and enforcement proceedings relative to the property at 20 Ridge Road, Foxborough. With the chair having declared that an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the litigating position of the commission.
Somebody want to second that?
Second it.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
And we have to do it by roll call.
Rich Galimi, aye.
Jeff Ames, aye.
Aye.
And Chairman, aye.
And you do need to mention that you will reconvene an open session at the conclusion of the executive session.
Okay, we will resume open after the conclusion of the executive session. Do we have anybody in on Zoom?
Nope.
All right,
I just texted him.
okay,
I just emailed him.
okay. Well, all set, Mr. Beck. All right, the commission's public meeting is back in order, and we're back on the air, so it's all going over cable access. It's being 7:05, we have a request. Pursuant to Mass General Laws, Chapter 131, Section 40, Wetlands Protection Act, and Foxborough's Wetland Protection Bylaw, Chapter 267, the Conservation Commission will open a public meeting on Monday, March 6, 2023, at 7:05 p.m. in the Gala Meeting Room, Foxborough Town Hall, 40 South Street, and via Zoom on a request for determination of applicability filed by Hockomock YMCA for the expansion of an existing wellness facility at 67 Mechanic Street, Assessor's Map 068, Parcel 038, within 100 feet of a wetland resource area. The application is available for inspection at the office. Mr. Buckley.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me 1 second. So good evening. Thank you. For the record, my name is Bill Buckley from Bay Colony Group, and I'm here representing the applicant, the Hockomock Area YMCA. With me this evening also is Bob Bunstein. He's the facilities director for the entire Hockomock YMCA region. And what we have before the commission is to ask for file a request for determination of applicability for a construction of a splash park area and 4 square hopscotch pickleball basketball court area. And what this area is, well, let me just give a little history. So that we've been before the commission in the past, most recently back in 2010, to construct the outdoor pool known as the Spear Family Aquatic Center. And at that time, the proposal was to build the pool, which has been built since then, and then next to it on the basketball court area, it was going to remain partially a basketball court, but the splash park was also going to be built at that time. So the pool was completed, the buildings were completed, but the splash park was never done. It was just, at the time, it was a funding issue. So we came before, or we appeared before the commission a couple of weeks ago, it was either 2 or 4 weeks ago, I think it was 4, to talk about perhaps modifying the existing order of conditions to allow that. And then at that time, because that order of conditions had expired, we talked about how to proceed because we'd never received a certificate of compliance for that 2010 order. And then subsequent to that, there'd been some additional work done out there that had never been brought before the commission. So at the time we discussed it, and because the work being proposed this evening is all work that is only in areas that have been disturbed, specifically the existing basketball court. It is in a riverfront area, it is in buffer zone, but the area we're talking about is the basketball court. It's basically pavement. So we decided at that time that it may be appropriate to file a request for determination to appear before the commission. So what I've put up for you right now is a plan that, let me just kind of walk you through it. So if you were coming in to the Y, the driveway is up here in this corner, coming in from Mechanic, and then you'd go this way, and the building itself is over in this direction. So this area right now, this is the existing basketball court, and it's fenced in. Here's the existing pool with the concrete area. This is the changing bathrooms building in this area here. And the back here is the mechanical space for the pool. So as I stated before, what we're proposing is to take the existing paved area, which is the basketball court, and take about half of it and turn it into a splash park. And in a moment here, I'll try again to put up a drawing that gives you some feel for what the splash park looks like. But then in the rear of the, toward the rear, this will remain a basketball court. It will remain a 4 square hopscotch area. It says pickleball. The reality is we can stripe it however we want. It's just going to continue to be paved as it is. And then around the outside, which it currently is today, what we're proposing is just landscaping, grassing along the area. This will be a grass patio. There's already some trees up here. They'll remain, and we're going to be putting some additional plantings along the front here. So let me just get out of this for a second. Hopefully see if I can bring up this other drawings that gives you a feel for what it will look like. Splashback renderings. This is a good one. Let's hope it comes up. Nope. Try it again.
Oh, that's,
I don't know what I did.
There it is.
There we go, that's the ticket. So this is kind of what it will look like. It's just a rendering, the exact configuration. This could not be it, but you get a feel for it. It's for little kids. It's a little kid's thing. It's water squirting out of the ground, et cetera. There's some questions earlier about how it's maintained. It's just like, kind of like a pool. There's an underground tank where the water goes into it. It recycles it. The water is chlorinated. When it comes time that it has to be backwashed, what happens is it'll be tied to the mechanical system. In the mechanical building there, it's chemically treated to take the chlorine out of it, and then it's discharged into the existing stormwater basin, which if you were driving into the site, before you get to the building on the right, that's the basin. It's pretty much hidden now after, 13 years of growth. But it doesn't just discharge into the parking lot or anything like that. It goes, it's mostly recycled, and then when it has to be replenished, it's chemically treated and then infiltrated back into the ground through that basin. So let me go back to the other plan.
So while you're doing that, are the plans that you provided for today the same as the ones we looked at in
Yes.
January? Okay.
Yes. We haven't changed that. And the critical one, the first one I gave you was the existing conditions plan. And then the second one is the actual building itself, or the site plan, 2 of 2. And then I gave you a third plan which showed what was proposed back in 2010. So you can kind of get a feel for what was going to be there and what we're proposing today. So that's it for that, and maybe I'll just touch upon the existing order of conditions, which again is an expired order. We did a site walk today, been a lot of work done outside of any permits issued by the commission. So, what we were proposing was, how do we get this thing in compliance? And so I'm not going to speak for Jane, but I got a great email from Jane this afternoon, putting her thoughts into it, and I agree with them, how to proceed with it. Instead of extending an expired order, I would say that we're fine with doing an enforcement order, and then us preparing a plan to show what's actually there, and not just in this area, but out in the woods between the Ahern School and between the driveway. We can show all of that. We will get a botanist in there to look at the wetland line, so we can get that on there as well. And then try and bring before the board a plan that completes the restoration that was proposed during the 2010 filing, which had to do with plantings along the riverbank, and then also taking care of and additional things that we talked about today, which had to do with some erosion coming off the driveway into the Robinson Brook, as well as there's a bridge there now. There's a metal bridge that goes there. There's some man-made debris that's in the river now that needs to be cleaned up. There's some trash that needs to be cleaned up. So a lot of that is in the original order. And then there's some additional stuff that we have to deal with, which is the adventure park, which I guess what you call it, which is out there now.
Camp Park.
Camp Park.
and all of that stone dust that we were walking through.
That stone dust will be brought up, it'd be remediated as well. So I-
Okay, going back to on the expired order of conditions, how do you propose closing that out, or do we have to close that out?
Well, I like Jane's idea, if you want to just jump on that, the idea of enforcement.
Yeah, enforcement and restoration order. As you all know, the Rivers Protection Act protects riverfront areas 200 feet worth, with the first 100 feet being a no disturb area. A lot of this predated that, I'm assuming. I wasn't involved back then. But one thing that redevelopment regulations require under the Rivers Protection Act is that you don't get any closer to the river than currently exists. But you can mitigate and restore portions of it. So I asked Bill I sent him my history document because I was trying to get myself up to speed. So I looked at the old minutes and such. And so if he could see what was, the original order, what it had, what was proposed, then there was an amendment, and I know that the commission requested impervious surface calculations and things like that. You may want to make as much of that impervious surface currently pervious. It might work to your benefit. But, so if we can put all our duckies in a row and figure out what was promised, what was done, what was omitted, what the percent of riverfront in the 100 and the 200 foot is, and then there's some horrible regulations for redevelopment that need to be complied with. So it'll take a little bit of homework, so that's why I asked you to do it. And you said enforcement order, but we would probably want an enforcement and restoration order. So once you have the specifics, I could plug them in and figure out, what restoration requirements there are. And because you can't do an after the fact notice of intent because it's not good practice. And an order from an after the fact notice of intent when a wetlands violation is found can be appealed. So you can end up chasing your tail. So the enforcement and restoration order is a good vehicle for getting things done. So did I cover everything, Bill?
I think so. So we would be, filing the enforcement and restoration order. We would make the changes to bring it into compliance with the 2010 order. And then we would
issue the enforcement and
then
restoration order.
You would issue that,
And you would kind of feed me the pieces.
right? Yeah, we would work together on it, absolutely, and the Y understands. And then we need to bring it into compliance, but I think it's going to go beyond that because of the
new
additional
area
work.
that-
That's right.
yes.
And
So I think
education's
once we get
important.
everything done, it will all be kind of come together, and at that point, we can come back to the board, the commission, and ask for a certificate of compliance for the 2010 order. In addition to all the additional work we have to do to deal with the additional alteration that was
The
done subsequent
wilderness
to that.
area and all, yeah.
Bill, I think the reason that the certificate of compliance was not issued was there hadn't been the required reporting, like yearly reporting by a wetland botanist or whatever, the restoration person, and I had been working with Briscoe Lang of Parkour, and I suspect that was around the time that he became ill, and a lot of things maybe went by the boards. But, the old requirements, the requirements of it needs to have this, this, and this reported, and photos and such, I don't believe we ever received that sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't recall. I went back through I went back through all my documents like you did, and I really don't know how it just kind of died.
Yeah, I think there were big
2013.
projects going on at the same time, so I probably kind of dropped into oblivion. But I do recall meeting with Briscoe and being underimpressed by the restoration.
Okay. Well, we'll take care of that just going forward. And I know that David, we were out there today, and David wanted some additional work done. So we'll, this is not going to be something that's going to be, I think we're going to end up coming back, talking to you, talking to the commission, maybe coming back informally one more time with a plan, maybe another walk, whatever needs to be done so we can get, and then, we want to get this done quickly, because as we're doing this, because we'll have everybody, and then we have a camp in June, right?
Yeah, so we run a 500 to 600 kid camp during the summer, and that's kind of how that area came about. Is we grow every year between 50 to 100 kids. So we service the Foxborough, the greater Foxborough area with the camp, and that area is used majority, with the camp from June to September. So.
A big part of this is educating the public about what is and is not allowed and why. I mean, it's not just to be annoying. It's to protect water quality.
Yep.
And I think the kids learning about that kind of stuff would be really helpful too.
Yep.
This is a river. Why are rivers important? And if you could put that in with your little curriculum, that might.
Oh, we
that
can,
might be
yeah.
good.
We look for different things all the time. And the outside classroom and that kind of stuff is so popular right now, with our child care and with our camp. So, yeah.
Well, when you have your beautiful new native plant restoration buffer along the riverfront.
do a little guided
which
tour.
supplies
Yeah.
all sorts of habitat to birds and other critters.
There you go.
And rivers are wildlife corridors, and that's why they did the Rivers Protection Act, because they found that they're really so critical. But, we like to see
Natural
net
filter.
environmental benefit and, make lemonade out of lemons. We just want,
We're
it's
good
all
with
about
that, yep.
education, really.
No,
It
yeah,
really is,
definitely,
yeah.
Jane, for your information, when we walked out there, we need to expand the restoration upriver, up the brook.
That would be
further.
nice.
Be up to
I
the,
believe it.
where the driveway is, that goes into the camp, it's getting pretty
It's a
eroded.
well-loved area.
But it's getting eroded where you're getting silt into the brook.
Well, and also, one of the reasons for a vegetated buffer zone, which we've been harping on a lot with native plants, is not only does it provide wildlife habitat and food for critters and such, and people, but it also holds the banks together and prevents erosion and, the silt and such that can wash into the river. So it cleanses the water on the way through and such. So you'd have yourself a little, a little beautiful kind of
Yep. Well,
look how
Yep.
look how great we're doing
natural,
here. And,
cleaned up
natural
area. Yeah, it is.
environment.
It's overgrown now. It's, there's.
I remember a lot of invasives.
towns. Yeah, there is.
And if I look back, and my predecessor had encouraged you all not to cut along the river, which sounds like a good idea, but unfortunately in disturbed areas, a lot of times you get a lot of invasive plants that are really not so hot. So it'll end up looking nice, and you can add a little curriculum about
We're okay with
rivers
that, not a
and
problem.
buffer zones and native plants.
Yep.
and-
So, Bob,
Yep.
we got the issue is that we got a request for a determination versus the issue of doing the
Yes.
recommendation of the
Yes.
enforcement restoration order,
Yeah.
which I think you'd be putting that together initially.
Yeah, we're trying to fashion this so it all works together, because
Yeah.
they need to
Right.
get this done. It had
But-
been approved before, blah, 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 yeah.
But we
As
need
far as the
to,
determination, I think we
Right.
can sign off on that tonight.
Right, and what I wrote was, under the determination for project description, and I incorporated it into the conditions, the negative determination conditions. I put the project was the construction of a modified splash park, blah, 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 within the riverfront area in an existing basketball court. And then I said, per 310 CMR 1058-5C, the proposed work within the 200-foot riverfront area shall not be located closer to the river than existing conditions. In addition, and I added this part, the previously proposed restoration area shall be re-inspected and restored per the site's amended order of conditions for DEP 157-489. So basically, for number 5, negative determination, since the work described herein meets the requirements, blah, 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 no notice of intent is required unless and until said work alters an area subject to protection under the act, and it's similar for the bylaw as well.
So someone want to make a motion?
Is that saying they have to do some of the restoration besides walking it?
That's the next step.
No, but is that saying that they have to do it? Because we didn't want them to do it until they
Oh, they have
did the whole
to,
place. Come in with a plan for the whole
yeah,
place.
they need to come in with a plan and stuff. So after this will allow them to get their splash park done in the area that's already disturbed. And then the enforcement and restoration plan might encourage either a widening or an enlarging somehow of the buffer zone, which is the restoration area. And you'll get benefit from that as well as the water quality and such. So that's a two-step process.
Right.
So Bill's going to review my history document. He's going to say, well, we said we'd do this, but we did this. We didn't complete this, and because we didn't have the money and da-da-da. You can make it short and sweet pretty much. And then just comply with the riverfront regulations for redevelopment because it's previously altered.
Can I make a recommendation, Bob?
What's that?
That when you look at Bill's plan, the pitch of the basketball court, hopscotch area is still pitching down to that corner.
Mm-hmm.
And he should at least add another protection of silt, the silt things, to stop that faster runoff going down on that side.
Maybe you can amend it a little bit so that it's going to have more low-impact
Buffer
development
area.
techniques.
You talking about the
swale.
silt sock?
Silt sock, yeah.
The silt sock is actually, Bob's already put it in, it's already stretched down to here. We saw it today.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's 360 feet of silt
Yeah.
sock that we put along the river.
And he put it along here, he went all the way up here and then ran it through here. So it's not just this.
But what runoff were you talking about, David?
The corner of the existing paved area, where it actually, the volume of the amount of water, it just puts something in there just to cut down that velocity coming across before it hits the other silt sock.
So just basically where he has that silt sock now, if I
Yeah.
put an additional row of silt sock there,
Yeah, just around that corner where you can see where it pours off.
Could he make a permanent
Yeah,
correction
why
to that
can't-
area?
Why don't you want to make a permanent adjustment to that?
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, again, that'd be up to them to,
Well, maybe that could be incorporated
Change
into the
Restoration.
enforcement and restoration. Because like I said, net environmental
Remember
benefit.
though, it's a basketball court, there's no cars on it, there's no oil, there's no greases, there's none of that. So it's not, the stuff that we normally worry about when we're dealing with parking lots, we're not,
It's just erosion, really.
yeah,
is what
that's
that would
really all
cause.
we're worried about.
Yeah.
And the water has to go somewhere, so.
I think when you probably get that stone dust out of there and get grass in there, that will alleviate a lot of that.
but that's not gonna be part of this work. They
It's-
want to
it's-
concentrate on the
On the splash
facilities,
park,
yeah.
yes.
Where was
But-
the stone dust that you're talking about? I
The
didn't go
whole
out.
stone.
There's
driveway,
gravel,
There's a whole driveway of,
there's
right along the
driveway
brook,
here.
And was that something that was approved in the
No.
past?
no.
All right, so then that's one of the things that you'll say.
That's
you know,
right.
That we put this in and we're going to do this instead to make the stormwater.
Maybe adjust the
Um,
level of the, grades a little bit there.
We know we have to address erosion and
Or swale or
that'll
something.
be part of it, we'll
Yeah.
figure that out.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, we're just doing this stopgap to get this splash park in, but
Yeah.
we can fix things up.
Yes. Just name for the record, please.
Brian Cassie, Cocasset Street. When you restore this native vegetation, make a stipulation for cleaning up the invasives in the future, because they're called invasives for a reason.
Sorry,
Okay.
sir, you need to come to the microphone.
Since we're on the air, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah, you didn't know this, but that's what they were supposed to do before.
Right, but, okay, but,
Let's start from the beginning. Since-
right, fine, Brian Cassie. And when I'm asking that, when you make a plan to restore native vegetation, you also include in the plan stipulation that people come and deal with the invasives, because they're called invasive species for a reason. they will definitely invade the area, and the whole place will look exactly the way it looks now. If you don't I'm just asking if you put a stipulation in.
That's what we usually
It's
do.
probably part of
We usually do
Yeah.
that.
of the plan, but,
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
it is.
Yeah,
I
that's
didn't
high on
hear
our
anything
list.
about that, so
Yeah.
that's
It's
why.
high on our list, yes.
Oh, very good. Thank
Okay.
you. Excellent.
Any other comments from the audience? Not, do I hear a motion? Anybody want to make a motion?
Make a motion to issue a negative determination.
Second?
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None?
Number 5 and 6 as read,
Yes.
and
Yep.
6A as well.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir. There's the two.
Oh, you got it. Oh, you
Two
found
site
it.
plan, there's the old rendering.
Got it once tonight.
Yep. Okay. Being 7:10, we have 61 East Belcher Road, a continuation on DEP 157620. Mr. Gray.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, my name's Cameron Gray. I'm here tonight on behalf of our client, Blue Diamond, to continue the discussion for the notice of intent that was submitted for our project at 61 East Belcher Road. So just to refresh everyone, our client is proposing the construction of a commercial facility along with the associated parking, grading, and utilities, a portion of which will lie in the buffer zone. So since our last meeting, we have submitted a revised site plan as a result of a discussion with the board. So the big change is we basically picked up the full site, so, I mean, the building, parking area, and stormwater basin, and we shifted it to the southwest here. So if I could share my screen, I'll show.
Okay.
So this was our original site plan that we submitted, so it's kind of tough to see, but we're basically right up against the wood line. The existing wood line is right here. So you can see our stormwater basin is entirely within the woods. The parking area is within the buffer zone here. So I'll switch to our revised site plan. So you can see we pulled the stormwater basin further to the southwest along with the parking and building. So the parking area is no longer within that 100-foot buffer zone. It'll just now be the stormwater basin. And by doing that change, we preserved about 2,600 square feet of buffer zone. And we'll also be able to preserve a lot more of the existing vegetation out there. And aside from those changes, just physically moving the location of the building, parking area, and stormwater basin, there's been no other changes to the site plan. I don't believe we have anything else to add to that.
Who was on the second sidewalk out there? I was on the first one.
Myself, Peter, and David.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Do you have any comments?
No, I mean, I know, this is basically, I mean, I know there was a discussion about moving the parking area to the other side of the building. I'm not sure how practical that was, but the moving it farther away from the woods and, retaining a lot more of that vegetation was the ask.
Okay. So you,
It's, there's a lot of disturbed area down there right now anyway,
yes, yeah.
in what would be called in the buffer zone, so. debris and stuff, so.
Did you tell him?
That was my suggestion.
No,
You
okay.
know, that it'd be better off in pulling it into the area that's already disturbed instead of, you know, even though it's a small buffer area, part of it was cut, but at least we preserved more of it.
So if I could add to that, like, so we reviewed this and we thought about flipping the parking area like the board recommended, but this piece right here is a big piece of ledge right there. So in order for us to flip the parking over there, it would require our client to do a lot more extensive removal with that ledge here. So we felt that the best option was to just basically pick up the full site and move it to the southwest. So that way, we're able to preserve more of that buffer area and basically preserve that vegetation, which I think was the end goal.
Jane, any comments or? Yeah, no,
I didn't go in the second one.
okay, all right.
Peter,
This is Peter.
Peter,
I think that was
are
a
you
good,
still on,
it was a good
Peter?
compromise. Yeah, so can you hear me?
I can hear you. Speak up a little bit.
Yep. Sure. So I think that was a good compromise, what they did. They basically took what David said, and obviously for the reasons of the ledge, couldn't do it fully, but, you know, compromised and pulled it in, which was kind of the direction we were trying to go.
Okay, thank you. Do we have any comments from the audience?
I have no idea what this project is, sir.
Okay,
That's my comment. What is the project? Is that, am I too late to ask that question?
never too late, we haven't closed it yet. It's a warehouse on 61 East Belcher, up on Foolish Hill, basically.
A warehouse to house what?
I don't know if they know what it's going to be used for sure yet.
So our client is a contractor, so if you go out to this site, he uses that as an equipment annex, so it'd be to house some of his commercial equipment as well as any materials that he has.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And this is part of a larger project, isn't it? It's going to be considered one
Yeah,
parcel?
so we did all together as one site plan. So we're just discussing up here in the Wetland Protections Act, but our client acquired this rear parcel also.
But that's yet to be,
Yeah, so we're
Identified.
currently going to planning board for the site plan approval.
okay. All right. Anything else?
I still bring up the question, can we actually make a decision on this or issue an order when the lot is in violation of other bylaws?
What bylaw?
Well, the earth removal bylaw, by allowing this activity
Well, it's within the 100-foot buffers.
within the 100-foot area, I think that's a legal type of question or council question.
So I think my answer is which we talked about before, is everybody has their piece of the pie. Your piece of the pie is the Wetlands Protection Act. Planning Board has site plan approval. Selectmen have earth removal. So everybody's got their piece of the pie, and if the answer is, well, we can't move forward because you don't have that permit, then everybody could use that answer, and you never move forward. So somebody has to go first. Sometimes we come before the commission and ask you to go first. Sometimes we ask the planning board to go first. In this particular case, we're moving everybody in parallel, which is the best way to do things. So you're tonight, and we would ask you to close it, unless there's some issues that we need to deal with. Planning board is Thursday night. We expect them to close it because we've already received a verbal from their consultant that we're good. We just had to make some changes, which were the changes that we made for this commission. So we're waiting from their consultant to come back and say, yeah, you're all right for stormwater. And as far as earth removal, we still have to go through that. If we do earth removal, Earth removal is defined as moving the earth from the site. If we don't take anything off the site, we don't have to do earth removal. So we might still end up not doing earth removal. Right now, we are planning it, but, so I'm not sure what the answer is, but that's what I've always heard. Actually, I think I told you the joke the last time, was Eric Avedon, chairman of the Board of Health forever. That was his thing. Well, somebody's got to go first, so we'll go first on this one. So that's just what I would ask the commission to consider is somebody's got to go first. You still have yet to make comment, which Jane did already. She made comments to the planning board on the commissions and her concerns. And you can also make comments to the Board of Selectmen, because they'll be asking for your comments for earth removal. But earth removal's pretty cut and dried. It's, you have to meet these criteria, public safety. It has mostly to do with public safety, not so much with wetlands protection stuff that you're concerned with.
I think what he's talking about is all of the alterations within the 100-foot buffer zone that were done without any wetlands permit. And they've taken a lot of dirt out of there already, and we have people telling us about that. But again, for the stormwater, are they using that, what is it, a higher stormwater of higher pollution potential usages or something, because they're going to be storing all of their construction equipment, leaky construction equipment out there? Have those been added to the calculations?
No, they have not, and
Yes, they have. So sorry. I don't want to be, I hate to do that. So what they are is it's a 1 inch. You have to go with a 1 inch storm, which we have, right? And the other thing is there are certain criteria that you have to deal with. So they say you have to deal with, so for example, they want you to use deep sump catch basins, infiltration basins, and those are the type of activities that we do use. So it's called land use for higher potential
Yeah,
pollution loads.
WHPPP or something like
Right.
that. It's standard, what is it, standard 8 or something like that?
Right, and then again, the town's consultant has reviewed that stuff. And we expect a verbal back from them.
Okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
So someone want to make a motion to close the hearing? Does anybody want to close it?
I'll make a motion to close the hearing for 61 East Belcher Street, DEP 157620.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor? Opposed? None? All right, thank you very much.
thank you.
And we have DEP 1576172 Washington Street. The applicant has requested a withdrawal without prejudice for this filing. Somebody want to make a motion on that?
Make a motion to withdraw DEP number 157-617.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Okay. Dave, you got some minutes, or you want to?
We have,
Just get gentlemen,
Oh, okay.
Are you the public comment? Are you the public comment?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Carter, you can speak anytime you want.
I just have, what I'm hoping you agree with me, it's a cleanup detail.
Could you just give us your name for the record?
My name's Joseph Carter.
Okay.
I live at 11 Daniel Carpenter Court, of which I'd just like to leave these pictures with you. During the last 7 years,
At the end of
tree
Daniel.
department,
Yeah.
the tree department has come and did their cutting of fallen trees and whatnot. However, they're still here, which these pictures will show you. So they cut them, but then they left them behind. And it was 7 years ago, maybe to this month, the Boy Scouts were gonna be let out to the Conservation Homestead on North Street, the Leplot Road, where they made the signs, they enhanced the signs. And behind the Dairy Queen, they enhanced that sign.
Yep.
Well, they forgot to do this one. They were gonna do this, but they ran out of time.
Okay.
Oh, the sign on the Saley property, you mean?
Yes, it goes.
Well, actually, they
this
made
is-
a-
This is your land. and
Yes.
we'll take care of it.
Yes, but it's connected to the Saley property land on Main Street, and one of the Boy Scout, that Eagle Scout, did make a beautiful sign, which subsequently fell over. They took it away, the Boy Scouts family was gonna fix it up. No, didn't do it. And Tom, the State Forest Supervisor, made a stopgap sign there, which it's not as beautiful as the one the Boy Scout made, but
Well, I just like to leave these for a wake-up call, because like,
do you know who dumps there?
pardon?
Do you know who dumps at the end of Carpenter? Daniel Carpenter Court? Because I've been trying to get the dumping stopped there forever. It looks like all the landscapers in the town bring all their dumping there.
There was one time, and I think maybe you think, there was a person that came there with a bobcat, and he spent a couple of days,
No, I
and he
didn't.
ironed it out. You said that he volunteers to help sometimes for the Conservation Committee?
At the end of Carpenter, Daniel Carpenter, no.
That's the only thing I can,
Well, if he told you that, then he was, no. Oh, my word.
well, he did pretty
Don't
good.
believe anybody. I'm trying to get them to take the stuff out of there and stop dumping, because they're dumping it into a wetland.
You're dumping what?
They're dumping all sorts of grass clippings and everything else in the wetland, and it's conservation land.
Well, I can't attest for them, the two landscaping people we have, the two that come with their $50 mowing your lawn story,
Yeah?
and they leave with the clippings.
Okay. Keep your eyes open, and I want to stop whomever I'm ready to put a camera up, but I don't want to have to go there.
But that still doesn't get to this cleaning up of the sawed-off trees.
Sawed-off trees, now whereabouts are those? At the very end of the road? See, I don't have anything against sawed-off trees, because that's natural, and if it's out of the path,
No, no, I'd like to make some excuse for them, but it doesn't work that way. The tree service came with a truck and the big saws,
and cut what?
and they sawed the trees that, that had fallen over.
No, where they were? Were
Daniel.
they in-
They sawed them, and they
Okay, you
left them
know.
there. Just like that. And they're right here in the picture.
Okay. Oh, I thought you were talking about all the dump piles at the end. Trees provide habitat, and I'm not against trees as long as they're not blocking the, and that's just me. I don't know how the commission feels, but if they're not blocking the trail, they provide habitat to all sorts of critters.
The trails are blocked. If
You said they are?
Yeah, if you go behind the Church of Jesus Christ,
Mm-hmm.
it used to have a trail that went up to the end of Daniel Carpenter, and it went from Daniel Carpenter up to, and back at Dairy Queen.
Right.
Well, the entrance to Dairy Queen is no longer there. I was just there this evening to double check, and we
Well,
got
the
we got some
church-
picnic tables there,
Oh,
and I can't find the entrance that used to be there.
well, maybe it wasn't our property. I don't know where you're talking about, but
Yeah,
the
it's-
roadway that
It's the
goes.
Saley property. It's all connected in behind
I know it is,
Yeah.
but the road that goes from the back of the church, there's swamp on both sides, right?
Right.
Is that where you're talking about the tree being?
The
No.
path in back of the church is lovely, but you can't go right for the fallen trees. You can't take a right and go back to Daniel Carpenter, which you used to be able to do.
Okay. Well, unfortunately, we
So
don't have.
maybe they are blocking the trails then, yeah,
Who can cut those out? Open that out.
highway.
Highway does that?
Sometimes citizens.
Well, I can leave it,
Yeah, why don't you leave us?
Yeah.
some
needs to
pictures?
be enhanced. I mean,
Well, nature isn't supposed to be pretty and neatly maintained, but I hear you. I'm more concerned about the dumping that goes on at the end of your road, because that's causing a lot of pollution into the wetlands and the water quality and stuff. So whoever's doing it, tell them to stop. And we don't give permission to have people with bobcats go out there and flatten things out.
Okay, I'm gonna leave these here,
Please, may I
if
see?
conscience can bother you.
Or maybe he wants to.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The conservation at Homestead on North Street, it was, the selectmen was volunteering there a couple of years ago.
They got a big grant from Schneider Electric,
Yes.
and we have all sorts of native plant.
Does Snyder do the side streets?
No, I don't think so. Very much pass that down. Yeah, the selectmen and other friends of conservation got a really nice grant for retrofitting the area, so it's got an all-persons trail, and it's got all these Boy Scout additions that are fantastic, and a lot of native plant gardens, so people can see what, why we're pushing the native plants and how they're helping the pollinators and the butterflies and all that sort of stuff.
If I used to have, I had a few turtles come on the property,
From where? Where you?
in the ponds, this is talking about getting filled in.
Yes, that's a vernal pool, and you probably have all sorts of critters living in there, and I'd really like to see people stop filling it, because you know what? I think people used to fill swamps because of the mosquitoes, but if you have a healthy swamp, all of the critters that love to eat mosquitoes are there, and you can't, it's not as bad for mosquitoes, surprisingly enough. Vernal pools especially, you get dragonfly larvae and things like that that eat the mosquito larvae. Nature's little mosquito eaters. So, it's all about education.
You have a nice evening.
Thank
You
you.
too.
as
Thanks
well.
a lot.
Thank you for coming in. Jane?
Yeah.
What is 157622 Route 1? Is that the MassDOT?
Yes,
Okay,
yes. And I sent it around, so there's an order of conditions and an attachment
okay.
that for you to sign. Thank you.
Did the state look at this?
The state did, and they asked me to take off Melissa's name as the owner because she shouldn't be on there, so it's the state that owns it. But that was the only thing they said. I mean, it's just boilerplate, really.
Okay, somebody will make a motion to sign the order of conditions for 157622?
Just
I'll make that motion.
make a question. When I was doing the minutes, did we have a discussion about when they're going to do the activity on the bank and near the river relative to the turtles? Because I think that's a timing
I
thing.
think they said the fall is when they're going to start.
They're going to go for bid
Yeah.
this year, try to start in the fall, but,
Yeah.
most likely not. But then it'd be spring of '24. And is that an issue for the turtles?
I wasn't around for that. So it's because of the riverfront area. I don't know of any turtles that would necessarily be out and about at that time. The worst time for turtles is around the time that they're going, they're traveling to breed in the beginning of June or something. So they said that they're using a time of year thing for wildlife or something, did they? I didn't put it in there because I didn't know.
No, I don't recall them. They didn't bring it up, but I thought we brought it up as, that'd be the area of concern.
It would be the area of concern because it's a river.
Right.
But that's the main thing. I mean, it's been altered in the past and such, so it's, for me, it's not a big red flag. The work's been done before, and I don't know, I think they're going to be changing some of it or fixing some of it, but it didn't jump out at me.
Okay. So did we make a motion on that? Did we get it approved?
Jim, you need a second. Jim made the motion.
Okay. Do I hear a
Second.
Discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we got it. All right, we have a request for order of conditions for 16 Garrett Spillane Road.
For an amendment.
Okay,
The new owner said he was going
CA.
to be here, and he's not here, I don't think. But, not you. So the story
It's
was,
on Zoom. There's a guy on Zoom.
is he on Zoom?
Oh, yeah, I'm here on Zoom.
You are? Oh,
Okay.
good. Okay. Here, why don't you take one and pass, oh, you have one. Take one, pass it on. So David and I went out and we spoke to Mr. Jordan, Ryan Jordan. We met with him at his house, and he said, gee, this looks horrible back here. And we said, gee, we agree. It's supposed to be restored. And he said, well, I would be happy to restore it and make it look nice. So I sent him all kinds of stuff, probably more than he could probably handle, but he's interested in planting the back slope, the vernal pool area, as had been promised by the builder in the area, did the work in the first place. And he likes the idea of it being native vegetation and such. So David and I did our little dog and pony show and told him what we thought could work. And this isn't exactly what we talked about, but it's relatively close. So on the sheet that he submitted, well, first of all, he submitted a letter that talked about, excuse me, what he's going to do to restore the area. And he took from the lists that we gave him, and they look really good. And he's going to make it so that they can actually have a view of the vernal pool, because the water and the wildlife there is really nice. He actually sent me a picture of a pileated woodpecker that's living in one of the dead trees right at the base of this slope next to the vernal pool. And so he's going to put he said he'd like to put in meadow area above the yellow line, uphill from the yellow line, and some paths for walking. And then he's got these different zones where he's going to put different kinds of plants. In Zone C, it would help to shade the vernal pool and, it contribute to the leaf litter in the vernal pool, which is the bottom of the food chain and all that sort of thing. So it looks really nice. And David and I had talked about David and I and you had talked about going out in that area that's disturbed already, that's relatively flat at the back
Of the dead.
right side of your property, remember? Because we
Correct, yep.
said, give and take, he wants to have, of course, he wants a place to be able to walk around his deck and a place for his kids to get out to the area that's outside of the 100-foot to play and stuff, or maybe play in the meadow. But you didn't propose that. Remember we talked about that? That little natural, what do you call it, knoll?
Yeah, so that's somewhat included in the additional 10 feet from where the 100-foot buffer is. So it's really just to give a little space to separate yard, I guess, and more native area, separated with the split rail fence. So some areas it might not even be the full 10 feet, but it would kind of, where the deck is going to go on that top part, get pushed back a little bit there, and then try to kind of run it down at a natural angle so that we have some separation on that corner where it gets really tight. So that was kind of the goal. Some of that area's been pretty well disturbed already. I don't know if it was from some of the rocks that were there or stumps coming out. So there's already some pretty big holes that would need to be filled in a little bit there as well. So just trying to smooth it out, make it a little more livable, and certainly restore that area and remove the invasives and really make it a nicer place. I certainly have a vested interest in that at this point.
Yeah, and it would look nice, but we had discussed the place that you would widen it so that you'd have a little yard or a place to put a fire pit or something like
That's
that
right,
would
yeah.
be the area that is just a mess right now, and it's at the top of the hill. So that's what I was picturing, and then pulling it away, just enough basically to walk by the house at the corner and such. Probably not quite as far as you pulled back, but that was just my impression of it. So you don't necessarily want to use I don't know if you all can see, but like right in here, if you go to the topography area there, he could flatten that out nicely and have a little backyard for seating or a swing set or something like that. So I thought that was my impression. How about you? Yeah?
Definitely.
Because I have a similar situation at my house, and you want to be able to walk around your deck and around your house, but
No,
it's
not
not
that
going to
far.
be a real play
See this
area over there
contour
either.
right in here, that'd be right in here.
Jane, I haven't been out there in quite a while.
virtually
Is
all
the
ground.
natural vegetation tried to come up through the wood chips and?
Not so much. There's some grasses, but there's also an awful lot of those darn, what are they, dewberries that are little prickly monsters that kind of fan out everywhere on the low lying. So there's a lot of invasive stuff in there, and the deer are coming back and eating the plants again. And
Oh, okay.
Well, it appears that about 70% of what was planted is still there and growing. There's only a few of them that the deers tore the bark off of.
Yeah.
And the
So,
problem is he put a lot of pines there, which is not necessarily going to make the best view for them. So I suggested sticking the pines off to the side and digging them up while he still could.
Yeah.
Either that or just limbing them up a bit when they get really tall. But, I explained the whole needs for the vernal pools, and we actually went down to the vernal pool, and I said, well, you might see something now. We might see some fairy shrimp, don't you know? Really, they were pretty good-sized fairy shrimp
Oh, good,
all over the place. It's going to be a good crop this year.
good.
we're starting to see saplings coming out on some of the old stumps.
Oh, okay.
And then there's some natural wooded vegetation. It's going to take a while to actually grow.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
it's starting to show.
Okay.
Well, it's looking sad, and he wants to do most of the work himself, so the whole knowledge is power thing. I sent him a whole lot of information. How'd you like the inspirational photos?
Yeah, I thought they were great. I like the look of it, certainly better than how it looks back there right now. So something that's probably going to take some time and figure out what works back there and try to, keep everything native. So certainly a learning curve here. But yeah, it's I'm excited for it. So.
Yeah, and he's a birder, too, so he understands how important this sort of habitat is.
Good.
Who knows, maybe you'll get some meadowlarks or something crazy like that. Probably not. Maybe bluebirds, though.
Yeah.
So we recommended that he come up with a map, show him what he would like to do, and then have an understanding
Yeah.
of, what's out there, and also a plan,
Yep. You got the plan.
and that goes before the board, because this was such a big issue of that 100-foot. Mm-hmm. And this, what he's showing here is probably a little bit bigger wider than what we were talking about out there in the field.
That's my notes from
Yeah.
my memory. He's got the right idea,
Right.
Okay.
and he's got the ambition to do
This is a
stuff.
little wider than what we thought.
What about, did you put bounds in there? I don't remember, except for he was proposing a split rail fence along the brown
The brown line. yeah.
line, yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Which
I haven't put
wasn't
I
originally
haven't
down
put any
down
bounds
down.
out other than what's already there, which is the existing 100-foot. So
Yeah.
happy to stake some things out there. Wanted to just kind of get everyone's thoughts where we stand and try to get a lot of this taken care of. We're getting, I don't know, somewhat ready, I guess, in the spring to start doing some landscaping and get a crew out there, pull the invasives, and try to kind of get a pretty good jump on finishing off the project, and also a good jump on continuing with the restoration project back there, I think is my goal at this point.
Yeah, and we talked about not doing very much filling of holes and excavating or moving dirt around. And with the exception of the large rocks, I mean, you were going to put them up near the top, but the large rocks partway down the slope, I'm not certain about that. But I mean, I could always go out there again, David, and go over where you're proposing that line to be. But the idea is there for sure. So do you have people who know how to get rid of these invasive critters, just pulling them?
I believe so, yes.
Okay, because that's a bear. I did that at my own place a few years back, and I won the battle, but there were a lot of casualties.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'll go that one alone, so I may get a crew back there and just make sure they pull the right things out.
Well, when they do it, you probably should, the commission might agree, you should probably have one of us kind of there to point and say, no, that's not good, or that is okay, type of thing.
It would be good to notify the office when you're ready to start, and give us a start date, and then we can have somebody give you some assistance there.
But the concept is good, yes? Now, the thing about this is, we had so many iterations of the restoration plan, and then it got to the point where Scott just threw his hands up and said, I'm not going to do any kind of work in that area. So all you have is a bylaw.
In that area to begin with.
Oh, I know. So there was a bylaw, order of conditions only, and it's basically for no work except to restore part of the area. So, I mean, it's already done there, and I think we had talked about making a little wider path for walking and such, because, you don't want to be ridiculous, but it's hard not to get carried away sometime too, especially if you have someone doing the work.
Yeah, I don't think we would go certainly overboard. I don't want a giant backyard, but I have 3 kids, so I do need some area, preferably level area in the back or the side.
Well, we talked
right now
about the
it's
side.
ending up just the way the grading and the septic and everything is set up. It's a little steeper than I envisioned it. And I'd like to continue to preserve. There's some other area in the woods back there that I guess hypothetically could be cleared out, but I would rather not do that. I think we certainly have enough area to work with what we have back there, so with what's already been cleared.
Yeah, we talked about how, one of the things he likes about this lot is it's a dead end, and all of the kids will probably end up playing on the dead end, and then the area adjacent to the dead end is the part that's just outside of the 100-foot buffer, which is something that is fine and dandy for him to do, whatever. But that's why we talked about that little knoll at the far right-hand side of the top of the hill, because we were stressing that we didn't really want to have a whole lot of, machinery or leveling or things like that. The back area is an area that it's the result of a wetlands violation. So this is very, very touchy.
A positive step.
It's a very positive step.
Yeah.
And we're not holding it against him, but it's unfortunately what he bought. It's an area that was restricted. But he seemed pretty excited about
Good.
that.
That
And
sounds-
it's going to stay a little steep, though, I think.
Yes, it's going to stay steep.
Yeah.
Yes. Nature of the beast. Mother Nature created it.
And they'll be able to go sledding
Yes.
down on top of the vernal pool ice.
Yeah.
What are the gray circles? Are those boulders to be put in?
Yes.
And that's all filled in between the 2 boulders?
Well,
If you,
he
yeah,
explained.
if you go back there, it's kind of a hole back there right now. So I guess in my mind, I don't even know if we would really need to do that. This is my, my amateur rendering here.
That's pretty good.
So I thought maybe a little, stone wall there in order to kind of hold some of the soil in for it to be level, but, I guess this is my first go round here, and again, just kind of wanted to get everyone's thoughts, and happy to walk back there again and just rehash it out and see what we can and cannot do.
Maybe get some stakes in the ground. Because if you talk about adding like a rough stone wall area, you're getting more into that 100 feet. Not to say that's a bad thing, because the creatures that are breeding in that vernal pool would probably love to live under big rocks. But it is still considered an encroachment into that area. I mean, if it's just a big rock here or there, like we discussed, that's different. So, yeah, I would recommend going out there and putting some flags up for him for the edge, so that people don't get carried away.
Now, what size boulders are you talking about here? Are they maneuverable by hand, or are you thinking of bringing them some equipment in there to move them?
I don't think the equipment would actually go past whatever area that you approve. Pretty sure they could just grab onto them, place them down there without having to further go into the area. So that was kind of my thought. I can't tell, again, what was already disturbed in that area and what wasn't and what was there. But right now, just in that back corner of my house, which is a walkout, it almost walks out into so there's a tiny little area there, but it would be nice to have a little more and have it somewhat flat, I guess, or even maybe step down into a flatter area. So I don't know really how much we need there, 5 or 10 feet, in order just to kind of make it a little bit of a better finished product back there.
Okay, but, okay, it still didn't say what size boulders that you were talking about. Are they 2 feet in diameter, 3 feet, or smaller, or larger?
Yeah, I would say, 2-3 feet. I don't think they're, with the machinery, I don't know. We could probably put any size we really want back there, but I think just enough to build a little wall, have it retain the soil, and I don't think they would have to be humongous boulders by all means.
I guess my concern is what size machinery you're talking about getting into the buffer area.
Well, he wouldn't be able to put any in the buffer. Any
Yeah, well,
machinery in there.
that's what I'm driving. I don't want to see.
Well, don't just dance around it, just say no machinery in the buffer zone, in the 100-foot,
Yeah,
because.
Yeah, I'm pretty
that's
sure
what
we could
would
just
require.
lift them down in there, and they have the buckets with a claw on it. They can just grab the boulders, lay them in place, and try to do minimal.
We would definitely have to have definite
disturbance.
boundaries for that.
yes, very definitely.
Because I know someone who likes to place boulders along the edge and just push.
Yes. So, yeah, I think before that portion, we need a site visit.
Yeah, I think all the rest sounds great,
Yes, yeah.
but he definitely need a definite boundary of where, beyond which limit you cannot alter the soil,
Yeah, okay.
So we need-
except to remove invasives and plants by hand.
We're asking for a staked out area so we can clearly see
Yes.
what the intentions are.
Yeah, he's
Yeah.
going to need that for
Yeah.
sure. But I mean, great first stab, and
Yeah.
I think that we can definitely make you a poster child. That'd be great.
Yeah, yeah. So, appreciate the time. I will stake out the area, kind of what I'm thinking, and what should I do from there?
Give me a call, I'll come out. And also, it's almost time to show your kids vernal pool stuff. Are you in the house yet?
No, probably looking at June-ish.
Well, the vernal pool season starts at the end of March and the beginning of April, and the critters start moving and making lots of noise and laying eggs, and it's great fun. So, I'm happy to come down and play and show the
She
kids
likes
about
playing
that.
in vernal pools.
I like playing in the mud.
Yeah. You're welcome to come down, and I showed them the book. They already like going through and kind of seeing all the critters, the salamanders, the frogs, and I
Excellent.
think they'll probably be back there playing
Excellent.
quite a bit.
They'll probably get to know every frog that lives there. My son used to know every
Good.
frog. That sounds great. So the next step you can do anytime you want is to get that, the invasives pulled out, and if you need help seeing, determining which is which, obviously when you have some crew in there to pull out those nasty vines, you really should probably have someone who really knows what they're doing. And I can kind of point things out if you want.
Yeah,
Bet David
happy to
can
have
do
you there. I'll just have to coordinate with the landscaper and try to kind of figure out what we can't do, and then get everyone lined up. So that is TBD, I guess, depending on everyone's schedule, but I'll certainly keep you posted once I know more there.
That's great, and I'm happy to come out and point those things out to you. And the commission usually says no, nothing except for hand tools and, by hand, no machinery really. Muscles.
So with that, do we want to sign the order of conditions that he's presented?
It's not something to sign. He just wanted to get your input and
Okay.
your blessing, and
Okay.
wanted to go from there, because I thought, what we talked about, I said, I'm all for it, but,
Okay.
I don't vote either. The
All right.
commission is the ones that vote. So if you give him his blessing, you could start the invasives removal and planting native plants by hand, and
Then we
you want to make sure you just take out the invasives, though.
have a site visit for anybody else,
Yeah.
because the fencing is still up, or they're definitely where the 100-foot line is. You can
Okay.
tell right off the bat out there.
All right,
So
good.
But yeah, and if you can plot out approximately the area that you would want, or that we would want as the limit of work. So limit of work would mean limit of machinery.
Yeah.
And then I
Yeah.
can come out and check it, or David, or someone else.
Okay.
Sure. Happy to do that. I can get out there pretty quickly, and then I'll just check in with you, Jane, and maybe schedule a site visit for whoever wants to come out.
Sounds good.
Perfect.
Thank you. This is great.
Yeah, I'll get to
I'm
work.
excited about getting this
Just
done.
want to thank everyone, so appreciate the time, Jane. Thanks for coming out, and looking forward to working together.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, everyone.
Yep. All right. Maybe we'll make lemonade out of that lot after all.
We want that lemonade.
Okay.
We haven't had enough of it lately. Get a lot of lemons.
Okay. Do we want to talk about the letter to the DEP, or we want to?
Well, that's changed a little bit, so let me redraft it.
Okay,
And refocus it to,
all right,
and then people can comment.
all right.
and Go from
Okay,
there.
great.
All right, Willow Street, the town has taken some land.
Yeah, Willow Street, I sent you all the stuff, and I quickly filled out the sheet that we went into exhaustive review of putting together this land donation policy and process. This particular lot, I've been saying, I want it for a long time now. The only
Yeah.
problem is the decrepit old barn that's on it. I suspect there's a rental pool in the back that our friend Ron used to put fish in,
Oh,
which hopefully they can't survive for long term, but for fishing. For fishing, so that shiners, you know?
There's quite a little pond back there. I didn't realize there's. that
I'd
much
like to
water.
do a site visit back there. if we
Yeah,
can.
yeah, I would too, because I've seen it from the fringes, but I haven't crossed over the conservation
The
land.
borderland, okay. So,
And I know you had problems with it in the past because they put a big, like a culvert or something
Yeah,
for
they
the
got a culvert
intermittent
in the middle
stream.
of the field.
Yeah.
They walk the horses around.
Been there?
There's a river running right straight through the center of it.
so
Pictures are great, thank you.
when you
It's not far from me.
get back into the office, we schedule a site visit. We don't have
Okay.
to do it this week.
All right, well, who knows what my life's going to be like? It's
Yeah.
kind of up in the air.
Okay,
But just to get the ball rolling and have you all say, yes, we would love it.
yes,
And then maybe, then we'd need to get public safety involved if they wanted to do another
it's been a while
you know,
since I've been out there. but
burn.
Is it just the piece that's
east comes
where the
down,
barn
it's
is? It's not the
Yes.
house that's
It's not the house
collapsed?
across the way,
It is.
which I don't
I think
understand,
it's
but,
a horse
yeah.
barn in there that's,
Yeah, 'cause we inherited a horse at one point, and we stabled her down there.
you did?
Yeah. a long
So
time
you're
ago.
familiar with the property then?
Yeah, I was, yeah. I didn't remember the stream going right through the trotting stable.
I
or
remember
whatever.
reading about that, and I
It's
think
right
it was a
down the
big
center of it.
brouhaha way back when with the commission.
yes.
Um,
Do you remember the year? I don't remember the year.
I was not here,
Yeah, okay,
thankfully.
yes.
Is that the barn?
So
There's
because it
something
would be a
right over there.
transfer from the town
Yeah,
general purpose to permanently protecting it under the Conservation Commission Act.
mm-hmm,
I'm not exactly certain how to go about doing that, but to get the ball rolling, you
Yeah.
guys would want it, yes?
yes,
Yeah, I figured you
absolutely.
would. Mhm.
That's, with the proximity to the Canoe River. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, all righty, anything else?
That's it for me. We have
Anything
this,
from the audience before we adjourn?
we have this character over here who wants to,
Sure, can I do it from here?
No, you need,
Okay, fine. This is only the second one of these meetings I've ever been to. And I should have come to lots of them, because I am interested in conservation and the environment in a big way. I don't think many people in Foxborough are really very interested in the environment whatsoever. Conversation almost never comes up in the 35 years that I've lived here. And they're interested in a lot of things, football and all that stuff, and I'm grateful for the Conservation Commission and all the work that you do. Thank you very much. I hope we can engage the public more, and I think it's ridiculous that somebody like me, who's spent his life in conservation's at this meeting for only the second time. I wish the room were full of people, but I can't say too much about it because, again, it's my second meeting in 35
no
years.
Board of Selectmen.
Won't be the last one. I came tonight to remember what Jane looked like, because I talked to Jane recently about going out
And I'm
to
glad you took your mask
look
off,
for
too.
to look for turtles. And I showed her a turtle egg that I found today. It wasn't in Foxborough, but it's an egg of a musk turtle, which is a secretive little turtle.
So those are supposedly the smallest hatchlings of the turtle species in this area.
Right, so there you go. They only lay 4 or 5 eggs. And I actually found this in Medfield, but I didn't find it here, but it's a secretive thing, and it hangs around, it's only about that big, called a stink pot, too. Anyway,
Is the egg viable, or is it?
I don't,
Fossilized to me.
Huh?
I don't know about, I don't know much about.
Well, you know what?
Put it in
Moving it
water.
around,
Put it
it's
in
not
water.
going to be happy, because if it was a real viable turtle egg, you can't. You have to keep them exactly how they were laid.
Right. So, so see, I have a lot to learn about turtles. I actually wrote a book once about amphibians, but I didn't write anything about reptiles. So I'm going to try to see all the reptiles and amphibians that live in New England this year. And it's going to take me up to northern Maine and northwestern Vermont. But I think that probably Foxborough is as good a place for reptiles and amphibians as any town in New England. And I think that Foxborough has more species of turtles than any town in Massachusetts. I said to Jane earlier that, over the phone, that perhaps Plymouth has as many species, 8 species of turtles, but Plymouth has, how big is Foxborough? How many square miles? 15?
Is it 20? Something?
20?
I should know.
But-
I just wrote the open space.
Yeah, so Plymouth is 100 square miles.
Oh,
It's the
wow.
biggest town in eastern Massachusetts, so they got us square mile wise. But we have lots of wonderful stuff here. The butterflies are suffering in Foxborough to a great extent since I moved here. Butterfly population's much worse. I don't know about the
Everywhere,
moth, not everywhere, but
many places around here.
yeah, well, in Foxborough specifically, all the good butterfly habitat has disappeared under the plow. I hope, I'm not moving from Foxborough, and I hope to learn a lot more about the reptiles and amphibians, and I hope to come to some more of these meetings. I'm not trying to be a gadfly. I really, really appreciate all the stuff that you do. I will ask questions when they need to be asked, and thank you for asking me to come up and say something. So
Thank you for
you're welcome.
saying that we do a good job. You appreciate everything
hear it
that
often.
they
I do.
Yes, come here all the time and say that, please.
Sure. We got to fill the audience. We have to fill the room sometime, though. What fills the room? Contentious things?
You don't want to come when the room is filled, yes.
Right. Well, there's a lot of talk about plants tonight, but hardly any talk about animals. So,
In due time.
Just fairy shrimp tonight.
fairy shrimp, that's
Yeah.
right, and pileated
Shrimp,
woodpecker,
that's right, they
which
came
is a fantastic bird.
Yeah.
He has pileated woodpecker
He
in his
sent me a
backyard.
really beautiful picture,
Yeah.
because, I'm always saying, dead wood is good wood, and this is why. And I said, you want to leave things like that, because
So
you
I-
probably
I-
have them.
If you don't mind, I do have one question about your reluctance to put up a camera, and why, if this is the guy brings in some pictures from
I
a
just
tree
don't
that
want-
was cut down 7 years ago,
And he doesn't even notice the piles of all the grass?
And he did, no, that's not the point I was gonna make. The point I was gonna make is you guys don't know anything about these trees that have been cut down for 7 years. And you're worried about the grass that's being dumped there, which is a good thing to worry about. But why have to put up a camera? I mean, this room is full of cameras. It's not like we're against cameras.
Well, and then there's the whole enforcement issue.
Yeah.
They get stolen.
You
Unfortunately,
can't, you get a big ladder and you put one way up in the tree.
They took the chip from the camera that I had up.
Up,
But that's my
They're
bad.
very
because I
creative. You
didn't
gotta be able to
lock
get
it
out.
Closed or put it in the bear box.
Bear box.
Yeah, I learned a lot of interesting things about people doing naughty things at one of our conservation properties.
Yeah.
But what do you do about it?
Well, I don't know. I was once asked by the town of Attleboro to go and assess all their town conservation properties. And I came back and told them that it was a disgrace. That their properties were a disgrace. They were all dump sites. Every single one of them was a dump site. And they really didn't like that. They gave me some money and they told me to get lost. But they have to do something about it. Really, they have a lot of conservation properties and at the end of these roads, and And nobody watches them, and everybody comes down and dumps all their
Well,
clippings.
see, that's one of the things I'm tasked
don't want
with
that to
doing, is
happen here.
keeping the conservation lands, making sure they're okay. So when I do occasionally go out in the conservation lands, which isn't very often, because heaven forbid, I should have fun and go play in the woods.
Right.
Whenever I see people on them, I will talk to them and I'll encourage them to be one of my unofficial stewards.
Good.
And I have a long list of unofficial stewards, and these people are awesome because they tell me if there's a problem, and I say, okay, let's see how we can fix that. But they also pick up the trash, and they remind people that the dogs need to be on a leash and pick up after them. And so I rely on the stewards in this town, the unofficial list. You can be
So-
one of them if you'd like.
Thank you very much.
May already be, actually.
I've never seen anybody pick up a piece of trash in Foxborough.
Oh, go to the Lane property.
Never. I went to the Lane property earlier last fall and picked up 6 giant bags full of trash over by the
Was that you who
over
left
by
that?
over by the waterfall. I call up the town to come to pick it up. I dragged the bags out. People stood on the spillway and watched me pick up the trash. Nobody volunteered to come down and pick up the trash. I know
A
that
lot of
people pick
people
up the
do
trash in Foxborough on one day a year. There's a special day when you go out and pick up the
Yeah.
trash. But the other 364 days, nobody picks up the trash, unless you guys do it. No, nobody picks up trash, Jane. They don't.
Well, no, they do. Can you imagine how much trash there would be out there if they didn't? Because a lot of people do, honestly. They do.
Jane's gonna show me some reptiles and amphibians, so I have to stay on the good side. Which I hope I have.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, thank you. If I'm keeping your meeting going, then I'm gonna go, and your meeting can adjourn. Thank you very much.
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you for the comic relief. That was nice.
Ron's a great guy.
Do I hear a
Give you a
motion?
guard owl call on the way out, ready?
There you go.
Oh, that was good.
This is a common bird in Foxborough.
Yep.
Yeah, it's coming, yeah.
I did an owl survey in Foxborough once, in the month of October, and found 126 owls in Foxborough.
That's a
And when
good,
you consider that we have Route 1, and Route 495, and Route 95, and Route 140, and all the traffic noise, there are a lot more owls than that. A lot more owls than hawks here. Sometime I'll come and give you talk about owls, okay?
All right.
That's
Sounds
all right.
nice.
See you later.
yeah, that was good. I wish I could do that. I have a whistle that I use, and I can make that noise, and it makes the cats go and run.
Okay, do I hear a motion?
Make a motion to adjourn the hearing.
We
of
should
the
encourage you to
meeting.
file an
Second.
application.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None. Good night, Mr. Beck.